Brand new for 2019 is the Alton Towers Dungeons, a memorable experience that's packed full of the gruesome and the funny side of local folklore and history. The experience is a combination of a walking tour through 5 scenes acted out as mini plays and a plague-ridden boat ride. There are up to 27 people in each group visiting the dungeons. The 45-minute experience is interactive, with members of the group being picked on by one of a dozen live actors. The tour starts off with meeting the steward of the dungeons.
What's going to happen in the dungeon?
Characters who will bring to life its gripping stories and twisted tales. They will entertain you, guide you, murder you. No, that's my little joke. They won't guide you. And because I don't like you, I'll let you into a little secret. There is a river in the dungeon. It is called the Black River. You will ride in a boat down the Black River and you will have a wickedly, wonderful, horrible time. Scary fun is the name of the game. Once in the dungeon, life will never be the same. You, where have you come from today? Sorry? No, I heard you. I'm just sorry. Sinners, your fate is sealed. No turning back. I, the steward of these towers of Alton, wish you a horrible time.
Guests then venture on to meet the judge, where you will be sentenced for your crimes, such as running around calling yourself Sweaty Betty.
Approach! Peasants, you are staring into the eyes of justice. For in this year of our Lord, 1602, I, the Bishop of Stafford, have been appointed by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth to be Justice of the Peace for this shire, and as such, I shall administer to its needs both spiritual and judicial. To my flock of lambs, I shall be both shepherd and butcher.
Beneath the towers flows the Black River, taking sinners to meet their fate.
What follows is the boat ride along the Black River. The 4-minute-long ride features a number of live actors enhancing the experience. Stepping off the boats, the group reassemble ready for an appointment with the torturer in their torture chamber, where willing volunteers get to try out some of the instruments of pain. A short walk through the dark leads to the Harp Inn to learn of the tales of Dick Turpin. And then to one of the more gruesome locations, where the plague has struck the inn and the doctor is conducting tests on how to cure the villagers of the Black Death. Escaping the doctor and the Black Death, you venture to the final scene, the Ghost Room, home to the local legend of Molly Lee of Burslem, a disfigured woman accused of witchery and believed to have brought a curse upon the village.
Legend says that Molly Lee was a witch, the Witch of Burslem, forever cursed, forever bound to her grave. Or maybe not forever. Molly Lee, you can't catch me.
It's taken over 220 hours to train each actor to work in the dungeon. The costumes have all been especially designed and aged to look authentic, using things like cheese graters and soap. Through the dungeons, there are 25 rats and 7 skeletons, and even 4 turkeys. But don't worry, they're not real. There are dozens of special effects bringing the experience to life, including smell pods with odour of rotten corpse, burnt flesh and ode a ghost. A visit to the dungeons is a mixture of the grotesque, the horrific and lots of laughs. You get out of it what you put in. With a good group, it's definitely going to be entertaining. You're sure to leave with lasting memories of your visit to the Alton Towers Dungeon. Now let's hear from some of the team responsible for bringing the dungeons to Alton Towers.
You! I've seen your internet search history. It's the Alton Towers Dungeon for you.
So we've encountered the steward, we've met the bishop, we've seen the torturer, we've then headed through down and we've met the landlady of the Welsh Harp Inn and heard the tale of Dick Turpin. She's then passed us, once we've survived that area, we then get passed through to the doctor's surgery down here, where the doctor has just been on a trip to Eyam, about 20 miles away, and he's come back with stories about what's happened there. The story being that the Black Death has managed to find its way up to Eyam in some blankets, and a number of the people in the village have become infected, and they made the sacrifice to barricade themselves, their town in, and stop the disease from spreading any further. And sadly, around 230 inhabitants of Eyam died doing that, but the doctor's made it back here. But sadly, he's found himself on the slab underneath this, underneath here. Let's see if we can just unwrap him slightly as well. There we go. So he's not having a brilliant day there. But then our surgery assistant here is here to explain all about the buboes, about the bad bits, the bad blood, the leeches, and all the other horrible things that are associated with the plague, and brings the story to life. Again, like in other shows, with a person pulled out of the audience and put into the operating chair here. The show then plays out. I imagine a few of you are similar to how, are familiar with how the plague show runs, so we'll be doing it that way. But again, it's got that Alton overlay, it's got the stories associated with the local area, and we're adding little bits into it as well to bring it even more to life.
The ride itself, which you're all familiar with, the layout of the ride stays the same. We're utilising that. It's a great ride, but within that, all the scenes have changed, so it's going to be a very, very different different experience. But it's amazing actually once you begin to peel back the layers and peel back the old theming and the old structure. This is a huge building, and it's really allowed us to create an attraction here where we can really replicate what other dungeons do really well. Just that sense of travelling through on a journey from, you know, where the judges sentence you through to the boat ride and through to all the different scenes to our fantastic finale. Because in terms of the ride, one of the things that we've been very passionate about is making sure that and they're doing it now, is that we're using actors within the ride element as well. Yeah. One of the things we didn't want to do was to break that bubble. So once you're in the dungeon, you are in, and your experience continues throughout. And the rides team do a fantastic job, and we still have them there, but they're hidden. The people that will be loading you into the boat, the people that will be taking you off the boat are actors, and as such assume characters, and as such help continue the journey without it breaking. It's been a fantastic building. It's really lent itself to what we're trying to achieve. Here. There's lots of space. There's lots of height, so we can work in lots of gags. You know, from a tech point of view, it's been actually a great building to work in, because there's lots of space. So from a maintenance point of view and installation point of view, it's been one of the easier. It's never easy, but it's been one of the easier attractions to do, which has allowed us to concentrate on some of the more detail. So we've put all the actors through, as you'd expect, a rigorous audition process. I'm sure for those of you who are familiar with the resort will probably recognise a few faces along the way. They have been treated exactly the same way as someone that's new. They have had to go through a day-long audition where we look for their ability to, from a characterisation point of view, taking direction, through to just their, the simple ability to adapt to a changing audience, to adapt to that, to keeping that slightly repetitive nature, keeping that character alive, and the ability to learn 9-10 different roles and bring something to each different role. And it's great to see because it means we've got a great mixture now of people that have been with us for a number of seasons through to people that this is their first time. Some of them are going to work solely in here. Some of them you may see in other roles around the resort. Any one day we'll have at least 12 actors in here.
Okay, so this is the fifth and final show in the dungeon tour. So you'll have, just to reiterate, you've been through the Bishop, you've been down the river. We then have a ride offload show, actually, which we didn't talk about before. When everybody gets off the ride, we do have a show, don't we, Chris, to kind of collate everybody, because everybody gets off in batches of 9, that group of 27. So we do have a rolling show there as well, prior to you coming in and seeing the torturer. And then you go to the Welsh Harp Inn, then go to the Plague, and then you find yourself in this cottage in Burslem. Now, this is our ghost show, and within the Dungeon Estate, no two ghost shows are the same. So there are tricks in this that we haven't done in other ones, and the story here is fantastic. It tells a story I'm sure you're all very familiar with, the story of Molly Lee, the Witch of Burslem. Now, I don't think it's nationally known too well, is it? And we're hoping that by putting it into here and having a local story that we can talk about a lot is going to pay dividends. It's going to be great. It's going to be something that people want to come and see. Now, the story itself, if you're not familiar with it, talks about this woman called Molly Lee, who was from Burslem, who was born slightly ugly and disfigured and wasn't particularly liked within the village. She got a job selling milk, and everybody thought that she was watering the milk down and she was cursed and she was causing problems in the village. And ultimately, when she died, people then saw a spirit and blamed her for pretty much everything that was going wrong in the town. So ultimately, the person in charge, whose name I forgot this morning, and I'm forgetting it again, but it was Mr. Spencer. Sorry?
The rector.
The rector, that's the word I keep forgetting, the rector. Decided to exhume her body, get the coffin up, and throw in her pet crow. Was it crow or raven? Raven, I knew that, raven. Into the coffin again, bury that in a different direction, and then hopefully that would do away with the spirits that were causing problems in the town. Sadly, that didn't work, and her spirit still causes grief in the area. So we're going to bring that show to life here. Obviously, it follows a similar route to what we do with our other ghost shows. The costumes you can see here, this would be Molly, and this is the lady who lives in the cottage. So, without wanting to explain all the gags that are going on, I'll pass it over to Chris.
It is the finale. I think, as Eddie said, just expect the unexpected as you would do in a ghost show, and for guests coming in here for the first time, I think this is certainly going to be one of the rooms they're really going to remember, and it's fitting that it's the finale. There's lots of different gags and effects in here, and as you said, there's a couple that are new to the ghost room concept. So
that isn't to say that we don't leave the guests with a smile on the face when they leave. There's a couple more gags and effects in the corridor that sadly we can't go through today. But as well, we make sure that any of the guests leave with a smile on their face, and make sure that they tell their friends so that they then come and experience the Alton Towers Dungeon for themselves. So we're a week and a half away, I think, from putting the public into the space. Lots of dressing still to go on, lots of rehearsals still to go on, lots of costumes, lots of makeup, lots of that piece, but we're in good position. And I'm very proud of where we've taken it to this point. I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks of it.